thinking last night about this case and their theory and how it didn't make any sense and how it didn't fit and how something is wrong. It occurred to me.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant.
It's no disguise. It's no disguise. It makes no sense. It doesn't fit. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Hey yo, what's going on? Not Guilty Boys, check it back in. My name is Attorney Michael Campbell with my illustrious colleague, Attorney Andrew Wilkerson. How you doing, Drew?
I'm doing good, man. It's going to be a good show. Got a good candidate to introduce to the people. I'm sure she's been introducing herself to the people for a while now, but, y'all get to see them through our lens. Hope y'all listen up. She got some good things to tell y'all.
So today we have special guest Heather Johnson running for Dallas County family law judge. Now, I know so far you guys heard from mainly criminal judges, district felony judges. However, we have our first family law judge candidate on the show. How you doing today, Heather?
I'm great, Mike. Hey, Andrew. Hey, guys.
Hey.
So before we get started, Heather, can you tell us a little bit about your background, your upbringing, your schooling, your professional experience?
So I am originally from Lake Charles, Louisiana. I've been in Dallas this is my second time living in Dallas, but I've been a Dallas resident for the last 14 years. And during that time, 14 years ago, I actually opened up my law practice to represent and help Dallas families. I've had an office downtown in the Chase building, and I've been primarily practicing in Dallas County, Collin County, Tarrant County, Denton County, the major metroplex counties. And primarily my focus or the base of my clientele has been men. So I've represented a lot of dads, a lot of husbands, a lot of, dads that are trying to be annihilated from the picture of their child's lives. And I've heard the worst of the worst, and I've seen a lot of redemption arc stories. So I've seen it all. I reside in Oak Cliff. I understand how important that the significance of that history is over on this side of town. So
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm a transplant, but I think when it's all said and done, I'm going to be adopted by the city of Dallas.
No, I think Oak Cliff has adopted you very
You think
well.
they've adopted me? Okay, great.
So you represented, wow, man, who is this guy you represented? This famous guy, hilarious guy, defense attorney.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
They put him in one time. You know what I'm talking about?
I think I know who you're talking about. I have a lot of
represented.
clients, but I think I remember that one. Yes.
Yeah.
Heather, before we jump in that, Drew, you got anything to say about Heather as an attorney and her professionalism and her ability to handle cases?
Oh, yeah, man. She's the best in the city, man. I mean, it's just simply put, and I'm not saying that. Well, I am saying that because she represented me, because I got to personally see how she does things. I take trial very seriously. I take preparation very seriously. I take knowing the case better than the lawyer sitting across from me very seriously. So I had my eye both eyes on her when she did that, and it was impressive, man, and it was effective. Okay, she helped me get my baby Stormy back, which I'll be forever indebted to her. Ever since then, it's been smooth sailing. But I can't imagine that she won't be an even better judge than she is an attorney. I mean, she knows the law, she knows where to attack. She knows the little tricks that attorneys try to pull. She knows the tricks that, the women on the side try to pull. She knows the tricks that some of the men on the civil side may try to pull. I mean, she is very well-rounded and deeply ingrained in the family law profession. So, this ain't somebody that just, in my opinion, is trying to be a judge just because she don't want to be an attorney. Because she a damn good attorney. You get a lot of judges that just don't really want to do the legal work anymore. You know what I mean? Y'all know what I mean. And that is not at all the feeling I get about Heather. I think that I think she'll do very well. I think she'll do very well.
Wow.
And thank you, Heather. Thank you.
Wow. Live testimonial, Heather. That's awesome.
And we didn't even have to swear him in. We didn't even have to swear him in. It's the truth. Look at that.
So for the people who don't know, can you tell and educate the people of the role of a family law judge? What all cases does a family law judge handles?
So a family law judge actually handles cases people have heard about. We're not nearly as familiar with the criminal system or the civil system from a everyday standpoint as we should be with the family law system. This is where people get divorces. This is where you fight over custody of your child. This is where the judge determines how much you're going to pay for your child support. And arguably, worst of all, when you're going to see your child, that is in the hands of one person. So that is what a family court judge does. Those are the decisions and the rulings that they make that impact us on a daily basis. Whether you have a child or not, you have a friend that does. You have an aunt, or I'm sorry, a niece, a nephew, a cousin, a brother, a sister, someone in your family has been touched by family law cases, or family law court, should I say. So this race is personal, not just because of the subject matter, but it's personal because it affects all of us in every single way. You know, even going back to Andrew, when I took his case, I mean, you know, Andrew has an amazing family. His family was even impacted by what we were dealing with. His mother, his father, his sisters, they all showed up to support him because they were all impacted by this. This was their granddaughter. This was their brother. This was their, you know, so we have to be more mindful of how these decisions not only impact, it's not about who wins, but it's about who wins. And the only winner should be the children or the child.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah. That
Period.
was a great answer. Yeah, I, you know, a lot of people think that, you know, it's just family court, blah, blah, blah. How about you tell the people why they should care about who's sitting on the family court bench and what's at stake for them?
That is a great question. So, you know, a lot of times people think that certain jobs are just a job. And if you have the qualifications on paper, that you should be able to be effective in that job. But that is not how it works on the bench. You don't just need a skill set. You don't just need experience. You need emotional intelligence. You need to be able to decipher who's telling the truth, who's toxic, who is the problem here, who is the best parent in this particular situation. It's not always the mom. It's not always the maternal side. Dads or fathers, as we will call them, they are 50% eligible as well to be the primary parent of the child. And I think that a lot of judges just need to come off that stereotype, that presumption that mom is better, but worst case scenario, will go to dad. We'll default to mom, but worst case, you know, mom is in prison, so we have no choice, but we'll give them to the dad. No, that should never be the case, especially when it comes to fathers of color, because we have enough broken homes to go around in our community. And if you have a father who is standing before you fighting for their child, you at least owe him the decency to hear him out, to see him, not just as another case file, but to see him. Who is he? What is he about? What's his energy? What's his motivation? What are his intents? Or what is his intent? You cannot glean that just from someone walking in the door and standing in front of you. You glean that with your mind and with your heart. And people can say what they want to say about, oh, judges need to be tough. They need to be, you know, hard. Yes, but they need to know when to be that way. That's not called for or required as part of the job. That is something that you discern. The same way you go out and you discern who you're going to be friends with, or who you're going to go out with, or who you're going to go on a date with. You've got to be able to discern these things from the bench. It doesn't matter if this law firm, you know, donated to you and they're the ones representing this side, or this person is in your fraternity, your sorority. None of that should matter. We need to go by the facts and what the child needs. Period. Point.
So what made you decide to try to become the one that's making these decisions? What made you want to be a judge? Because like I told him, I mean, you know, I ain't gonna tell. I know you're good financially from being an attorney. I know you're respected being an attorney. It had to be something that stood out that just made you want to make this move.
Well, you know, we're living in an age now where so many things are at stake. So many things. And on a local level, our trial courts, our criminal courts, and our family courts, that's our first line of defense from what's happening higher up the chain, right? So when you see something that is a problem or something that can be improved, and you know that it's not impossible, that it can just be done if implemented properly. I don't believe in complaining if I'm not going to be part of the change. I'm not going to just sit at home and, bitch about a judge that I don't like, or a judge not doing their job, or a judge who's not fair. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to do something about it. And whatever that looks like in this democracy, whatever I'm allowed to do within my capacity as a licensed attorney to help make that change, if that includes running for office, then that's what it includes.
So,
Okay.
as family law judge, Heather, you bear a lot of responsibility. I mean, you cover divorces and people's property. Excuse me. You cover custody battles, their children, and who they will reside with primarily, and also child support, which deals directly with their earnings. So, a family law judge has a lot of responsibility. How does a judge get to in that position have to be fair and considerate in making such an important decision that has such a real impact on people's lives?
So, as you may already know, we are governed by the Texas Family Code, right? When it comes
Right.
to what we can and cannot do in court or as a judge. The really interesting thing about family law judges is that arguably they have the most discretion out of all the other practice areas. Do you know why? Because people
Wow.
change. A
Yeah.
custody case is not like a car accident.
Right.
A custody case isn't even like a misdemeanor case. It is its own animal. People are fluid, circumstances change, and it's up to the judge to exercise sound discretion when they're making these decisions, because you have to take a look at who's in front of you. You have the ability, to your point about child support, a judge has the ability to deviate from guidelines, go above it or go below it. A good judge is going to sit and listen to the testimony, understand that obligor's financial picture. Are they struggling? Child support shouldn't be a burden. It shouldn't be a weapon. It's not a punishment. It shouldn't be a punishment. So you need a judge who takes the view of, yes, you are a father. Yes, for example, if you're not the primary parent, you are obligated for child support. But the child support is not designed to make you homeless. It's not designed to make you struggle. And you have to be in a space, a mental and emotional space, to be respectful of other people's circumstances. Because respectfully, $2,500 in attorney's fees, I'm just going to use this as an example, may not be a lot to us. But to the average Joe out there, a judge not awarding them their fees back, for example, that's a problem, because you're not looking at the bigger picture.
Right.
A judge ordering child support, that's guideline, when this guy has, broken leg and can't work for 3 more months. Why are you setting him up to fail? Why are you setting him up to be in arrears? Why are you setting him up to be in a position where he has back pay hanging over his head? Let's just be real. Let's be reasonable here. And just
Right.
because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. Just because you
That's
can
a great
sign
point.
off on something doesn't mean you should sign off.
Now, I'm sure you know, because I felt this way. A lot of men in the community feel like family court is automatically against them, especially when it comes to their kids. What you got to say about that?
Well, I started off mentioning how I've represented mostly men throughout my 14-year career here in Dallas. And if I'm allowed to curse, I will, but it's BS. It's total BS. And the
We curse
reason,
on the show.
oh, okay. Well, I'm going to try to be a lady. I'll try
Okay.
to be a lady. It's total BS. Total BS, because I have seen and represented some men who were incredible. You being one of them. I'm not saying just because you're sitting here. I have seen any man willing to fight for their child, should just automatically start off at 100 and then let him knock his own points down based on how he handles himself or what the facts are. But you should not have a mom starting at 100 and the dad at 0, and he has to prove why he is deserving of the same thing she's already deserving of. That's a problem. And it's more so prevalent. I'm not saying all fathers deal with this. A lot of fathers well, let me scratch that. I am saying all fathers deal with this, but Black and brown fathers deal with it more. because they already
Yeah.
deal with more of everything else anyway. So it
Mhm.
just trickles into the courtroom. And you would
Now,
hope that because everybody on the bench in Dallas County looks like me and you, that wouldn't be the case, but it is. It is.
right. Now we wanna be gender neutral. What would you do? What would you say about the moms out here that aren't getting support for their kids, that are, kinda struggling? How would you make sure that they can kinda pull through?
You know, being a mom is one of the hardest jobs on planet Earth.
So
And
I've heard.
well, I mean, it is. And from the beginning all the way to the end, right? Because the mother's carrying the child, the mother gives birth to the child, all of those things, right? But when a woman or a mother wants to make sure their child is cared for and in the best environment for that child, that parent, that mother deserves to be heard. That mother deserves to be seen just like the dad deserves to be heard and to be seen. People deserve to be heard and seen. And for some people, that sounds so simple. But if you are not a person who takes the time to hear stories, listen to stories, and feel those stories and get an idea of what needs to happen, either from a lawyer standpoint, I'd say the word strategically, what needs to happen strategically, that's on the lawyer side. But on the judicial side, I would say you need to understand what's in the best interest of the child, considering these circumstances that are before you. If we've got family violence, if we've got a dad who's not exercising possession, we've got a mom who's not exercising possession, we got a dad not paying child support, or if we've got a mom, because I've gotten guys child support. I've gotten guys child support in the sense that they are receiving it, not paying it.
Mm,
So it can happen.
must be nice.
Well,
And
you know.
you're a breath of fresh air because I think that tears down a lot of people's stereotypes when it comes to family law and custody issues. Most people that think that the baby automatically goes to mom, and dad has to, like you say, he has to prove himself if he even wants to think, about gaining custody. And in the same aspect, when it comes to mom, if a deadbeat walks off from the time that you're having that baby and he's not supporting that child, she deserves every penny that she can get to help her with the support. So let's say you have a mom or dad in this situation and they come to your court and they don't have the financial ability to afford a lawyer. What could they expect when walking into your courtroom and not being able to afford representation, but still need the assistance and the support?
Well, I would say two things. The first thing I would say is not having an attorney may not be advisable, but it's absolutely not the worst thing you can do in court because we have people who are very capable of coming up or standing before the court and telling the court what is happening and what they need in a very effective way. But even if they don't, or even if they don't know how, they're still deserving of the same respect that you give counsel, that you give the public defender, that you give the amicus, that you give the mother's attorney, the father's attorney, whoever it may be. They are deserving of the same level of respect, period. Not having an attorney should not change in any way, shape, or form how you are treated when you walk through George Allen.
If you were elected, what would be the first thing you did when you took over the bench?
Well, can I give you three things that I plan to
Go
do?
ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, in no particular order. So, however you guys want to edit this. But the first thing that I would do is I would absolutely, like I said, implement the fairness standard. We're not doing any sort of preferential dockets, preferential treatment. Everybody is the same. Period. Dot. The end. Second priority would be to ensure accessibility. And what do I mean? I mean that courtroom doors should not be locked. Your client or your lawyers or your litigants should know when the court hours are operating. They should know when you're going to be there, when you're not going to be there. Because as you guys are lawyers, you should know. You probably have experienced. There's nothing worse than needing something from a judge and she's not there or he's not there.
Mm,
There is nothing worse than that. You need a TRO. The lights are on, but the doors are locked.
Mhm.
You need an order of just reinstatement sign. The door is locked and the lights are off. Like, come on. You know what I mean? So I think it's important Not saying that the court can't be closed, because obviously things happen in life, but keeping people informed, keeping counsel informed so that time isn't being wasted. Too many times we have had judges, not even just in my situation, but judges that are not respectful of people's time. And that is a problem. You got people taking off work to be there. You've got people missing pay to be there. The least you can do is let them know when you're not going to be there. And then lastly, this is actually going to surprise the both of you. We live in Dallas County. If you know anything about Dallas County, you know it's a very diverse county. You've got Black people, white people, and a ton of Latino. Can you believe there's not been a Spanish speaking staff member in that court for the last 3 years?
Wow.
Yikes.
3 years. That is unacceptable. That
Yeah,
is
it is.
very much like such an antiquated staffing decision. And when pressed about it at a recent debate, the response was that the court reporter had been retained from the last court or the last judge because she's been the court reporter for 30 years. Okay, I don't.
Right.
Like a Supreme Court justice or something.
Right.
Like it's just
I'm with
just a
you.
lifetime.
appointment.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Okay.
as I told the crowd at Monday Night Politics 2 weeks ago, if you do not speak English and you need to go to the 256 today, you better bring a friend, because you're not going to get anything accomplished if you don't speak English. Not a thing. And what's so mind blowing for me on that particular issue is, as you heard me say, I've had my practice for 14 years. For the last 10 years, my practice has provided bilingual accommodations. So if little old me can provide bilingual accommodations, tell me or explain to the taxpayers why you can't make sure that they are accommodated accurately or adequately and fairly. Because we all know if you're not understood, how can there be any justice, any fairness? You're not even able to be understood or heard.
Right.
Yeah.
Accessibility, the ability to be understood is very important.
It's important.
Absolutely.
How are you going to
Absolutely.
set a hearing? How are you going, even if you get in your car and you drive to George Allen and you go up to the 3rd floor or the 4th floor, how are you going to set a hearing with the coordinator?
Right. Just the small things that
The small things
should be common sense, but not so
should
common.
be common sense. And
Absolutely.
in 2026, we live in the age of the internet. We live in the age of Rosetta. What is it? Rosetta Stone.
Yeah,
We live in the
technology.
age of all of these things. Like there's
Yeah.
no reason for
Yeah.
that to be I shouldn't even be able to bring that up.
Absolutely. So one thing about family law, because a little bit about me, Heather, I don't know if you noticed or not, but I did like 5 years worth of family law before I went
my goodness.
strictly criminal law.
Okay.
And criminal law is different. You deal with some gruesome things, but one of the most crazy situations I ever seen in the courthouse happened outside of a family law court. It was actually a child's mom and her child's father and their family had a whole brawl outside the George Allen building one day. It was just eye-opening to me. I was like, whoa. So emotions can run really, really high in family law court, as you know from your experience. People crying, people angry, people mad. How can you keep courtroom decorum as a judge and at the same time still make fair decisions with the emotions so high?
Yes, and that's actually a very good question. The most important thing in my experience when those kinds of things are happening is that you maintain your composure. You don't break, you don't flinch, you don't allow yourself to be drawn into it or to even be the reason it escalates. So for me to be sitting on the bench and to see parties carrying on, as in you mentioned in that example, I think you have to cut it off before it even gets to that point. And one of the ways to cut it off is to establish your rules, like a referee. You establish the rules before the game starts. And then you set up the consequences before the game starts. And you say, hey, if you commit a penalty, and y'all correct me on my sports language,
You're dead on. Keep going.
Okay, thank you. If you commit a penalty, you're out. You don't get to sit and watch. You don't get to sit in the galley. You got to go out in the hallway, escorted out by the bailiff, because you can't allow your courtroom to be a playground to be used for people's vindication tours, vengeance tours. You can't allow your courtroom to be used as a stage where people come in there and perform and act out. You have to have decorum and respect in order for you to be effective, both as a judge and as the person that they're relying on to maintain order. How can you maintain order if you're chaotic, if you are untethered, if you are highly reactive? And that's the other part. The reactivity of a lot of judges is problematic. It is problematic. You've got to be able to sit, listen, hold your tongue where needed, and just keep a baseline of respect for everybody, no matter what they say or do. And I think that that is something that a lot of people fall short on because they don't have the self-control and the emotional intelligence. I don't know why, y'all, it's 5:00. My brain is up, but the emotional intelligence to be able to convey and present that way. You don't have to, I posted a video on my page about a week or two ago. It's like, not everything deserves a reaction. And when you are a judge and you're sitting in that space, you're not sitting on an elevated bench for optics or because the architecture felt like it. You're sitting up there because the image, the purpose, your sole purpose is to preside over the court. And in presiding, it's also, that includes controlling and making sure that people feel safe, they feel heard, and there's no chaos. That's easy.
Okay, well, we know that you're running against an incumbent judge who's already on the bench. So I'm sure the people want to know, what makes you different and why they should vote for you and what different things will you be doing in the courtroom?
Well, I have been practicing exclusively family law for 14 years. So I bring a set of, or I bring experience that is more so drenched in the types of cases that I would be hearing every day. No offense to you guys, but if you've been practicing a little bit of criminal, a little bit of federal, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then you want to run for family court judge, even if you win, that does not mean that you are the person for the job. Because there's a certain level of familiarity and experience with these cases that and don't even talk about endurance, because you've got to be built for family law cases. It's not for the weak. So if your patience is thin, if you are easily irritated, if you are slamming doors in other judges' faces, there is a chance that this job may not be for you. What I will bring is the patience, the empathy, the innovation, and that includes technology. That includes interactive correspondence and communication with the court, because it's 2026. Well, at that point, it'll be 2027. Things that people can actually use, tools that people can use to help manage their own cases, to help manage the dockets in the court, because there's more than one way to skin a cat. The way that this cat's been being skinned is very antiquated. I want to bring up my opponent focus has been on her numbers, her clearance rates, her policies and procedures online. All of that is great. Wonderful. But as a father, Andrew, do you care about that?
I do not.
Mike, are you a father?
A father too.
Do you care about the policies and procedures on the website?
No, I don't.
Okay. I just wanted to know, because I thought the goal of this job was not to be Manila. I thought the goal of this job was to be innovative, helpful, to be in a position of power to that extent. You have the power to make or break someone's legacy. You have the power to make or break someone's relationship with their child. You have the power to determine whether that this man on child support is going to be able to breathe financially. You have the power to determine whether or not he's going to see his kid on Saturday or Sunday. That is the kind of stuff people care about. That's what they want to know. That's what they want to see, a human touch, not just policies and procedures and clearance rates. The average voter doesn't even know what that means.
Right.
Those are arbitrary things set up to gauge performance, job performance. That's it. It doesn't gauge whether or not families are being served. It doesn't gauge whether or not family or justice is being rendered. It doesn't do anything for the people of Dallas. Nothing. And just like I said 2 weeks ago, I've been practicing 14 years. The incumbent has been practicing, I think, close to 20, or if not more than 20. That sounds great. That's wonderful. But what is the experience if the people don't feel it? What difference does the experience make? If they're not able to see it, what is your 20 and how does that trump my 14? Because if people aren't walking out of your court either feeling better are feeling like they can finally see light at the tunnel, end of the tunnel, then your 50% or 60%, whatever you're sending to the commissioner's court, is irrelevant. It's
Correct.
irrelevant. And I just want people to understand how this works. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. I hear people say, oh, I got to do my homework. I got to do my research. Do your homework. Do your research. But please understand that being a good family judge is just about literally knowing the law and respecting humanity. That's it. That is it.
Yeah, I think those are the tangible things that people try to latch on to take people's attention away from what really counts and matters, which are the intangible things. How do you make people feel? How compassionate of a judge are you? How seriously do you take your job? Do you look at things at a case by case basis? Or do you see the person that's in front of you? If all those things are done correctly, I mean, in my opinion, the numbers will be there. But the numbers shouldn't come before that. Prosecutors that are worried about conviction rates usually aren't that compassionate. Detectives that are worried about
You
clearance
are
rates usually aren't that compassionate. So it all correlates no matter what genre we're talking about. But yeah, I feel you on that. I felt that. Tell me this. I want you in the seat. Mike wants you in the seat. What can people that want to help you win do to help you win?
Well, they can do one main thing. They can absolutely donate to support the momentum, the movement. We've got billboards, we've got yard signs, we've got shirts, we've got all these things that we need. These aren't things that are just fun. These are things that are needed to keep the campaign moving, to keep the awareness out, or keep the awareness in, going, and to ensure that we're able to actually make the change that we want to make. It's one thing for me to talk. It's another thing for me to actually be in a position to do it. And that's what the contributions will help to support me on that journey. That money is not for me. That money is for the campaign, for the courts, for the families in Dallas who need change, who deserve better.
Heather, where can the people make those donations? What's your social media handles, and what's your website where people can tap in with you?
My website is resetthebench.com. They can also follow me at Johnson for Judge on Instagram. And they can also check out my Facebook page, facebook.com/Johnson for Judge 2026.
Well, you heard it here first, people. Not Guilty Boys bringing you the live and direct
Access
250 judicial candidate, Heather Johnson of Dallas County. I think she's thought-provoking. I think she's informative. I think she's well-spoken. I think she has a great temperament for the bench. These are the type of people we want to elect come February 17th. You guys need to go out and do the right thing. And when you get to 256th District Court and you see Heather Johnson's name, you need to put a check mark in that box. If you want your family members or your neighbors or your church members to have a fair chance in Dallas County family courts. Drew, you got any closing words?
Hey, folks, appreciate y'all listening, but stop asking people who they voting for and get informed on your own. Get out here, watch our show, of course, and we bringing it right to your front doorstep so you can know what these people stand for. Heather's informative, she's compassionate, and I think that she deserves to reset the bench. I think she does. So, y'all get out there. I know what box I'm checking. How about you, Mike?
Now, if I could check the box, I would, Heather, but I'm telling everybody in Dallas County, because I'm a Tarrant County resident.
Yeah, he a Tarrant County,
County, when you go vote, 256, Heather Johnson should be your check mark. Heather, one last thing. You got any upcoming events or any public outings where the people can come and meet and greet you in person?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I hit the mute button, but I was going to tell you when you were talking about the ballot, I'm number 1 on the ballot. So they
Numero
better
uno.
with me. Heather Nicole Johnson is the first name in that race. So all they got to do is look, check, and keep it pushing.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Any
talking
upcoming
about.
events where they can find you and meet and greet you?
Actually, they're in the works. Right now, we are prepping for early voting, which is another reason why we are soliciting donations and asking for support, because this early voting period is going to require a lot of groundwork to ensure that we are getting people to the polls, getting them not only to the polls, but to the polls to vote for me.
Sounds good. Well, you heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Heather Johnson, he's more than qualified for the 256. Y'all get an early vote. Y'all get out on March 3rd and y'all make that right selection. This is why we do this. We want to bring the good candidates, the candidates that we feel are strong and need to be on the bench directly to your doorstep so you can hear from them live and direct and you can understand who you vote for. Another great show, Drew. Heather, thank you so much for coming on.
You guys, I
No,
really
no,
appreciate it. I know it was hard. We've had our technical difficulties, but I'm so glad we finally made it. I appreciate you for having me, for making the time and allowing me to get on here and get the word out. I know you guys have a great following, and so I just want to say thank you, and thank you for putting me in front of those people.
thank
Sure.
you. Not Guilty Boys. We're checking out. Y'all have a good one.
Bye.
It's no disguise. It's no disguise. It makes no sense. It doesn't fit. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
We need to throw good, we need to throw good, do you?
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant not guilty of the crime of murder. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, further find a special circumstance that the defendant has in this case been convicted of at least one crime of murder of the first degree and one or more crimes of murder of the first or second degree to be not true. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is this your verdict? So say you one, so say you all.